Hey everyone, this is Hart, and I'm back with Dragon Force 2. Um, wow, I haven't done this for a little while, so just let me dust off my guidebook, quite literally. That's kind of embarrassing. Okay, so we're fighting Carl here. Um, Coming up into the next section, it gets kind of crazy. For want of a better word, becomes kind of a clusterfuck. Is there a less obnoxious word for that? I don't know, someone tell me. You kind of get into the middle of, I was gonna say Wayne, not Wayne, that's Dragon Force 1. Abart, or rather Highland's territory, which is being invaded by Bozak, and just basically you have generals sending units from every side. You can. There are a couple of ways to approach this. You can do what I do, which is good for leveling up, but not the most expedient method. What I tend to do is just take the central Highland castle, which you'll see in a second, and kind of sit there and take whatever the enemy generals have to send at me, because more battles means more experience. And at this point in time, you'll notice that I'm using Lenny, Bartz, and to an extent Edelbach, and sometimes Shen, more than I'm using Sanith, because Sanith is a higher level than the rest of them, and as with Dragon Force 1, in the end game you have to use your monarchs. So if you've neglected to level them up, you kind of have to sit there prior to the end game, just trying to grind with your monarchs, often in the underground dungeons, which is not a lot of fun. It does mean that you'll get a lot of materials if you want to synthesize things, but it's not too much fun, so I prefer to try to level them up as I go. As you can see, that castle just to the south of here is no longer one of those, is no longer occupied by Orvo, who was sort of ridiculously strong and was basically the game's way of saying don't go this way. Now it's one of Kaede's castles, so if you wanted to, you can advance from the east, from Tradnor, into Kaede's territory at the same time as I'm looping around here into Highland. If you wanted to try to take on Kaede with someone other than your monarch, which is entirely possible. Just now I showed to the right of here that Highland castle that I was talking about. This castle becomes a lot more important to the plot a little bit later on, once you've united the continent. So you might want to pay attention to where it is. If you can't read Japanese, the game does tell you these things, gives you little hints along the way, but if you can't read it, then you might not pick up the name of the castle that you're supposed to go to next. This castle right here is the one I was talking about. Okay, this village is important. If you stop on this village, you'll talk to this villager, and he's basically telling you that you should meet with Kinsera. And Kinsera is a very strong general according to him, but he's not actually human, he's one of the dragon race. And he is in fact the only dragon person that you can recruit as a general in this game. I think there were two in the original Dragon Force, but there's only one in this game, and if you stop in this village, he'll tell you where to go. He says to the south of the village, there's a cave you need to visit if you want to recruit him, so that's important to remember. Okay, as before, I'm just gonna speed through this domestic phase because it's all of the same things, just fortifying, recruiting prisoners of war, general swapping of equipment and stuff. I'll just read, since I forgot to read Carl's entry at the beginning. He was one of the people that we fought right at the beginning of the game. Um, he's from Highland, yeah, okay. So I think he's fairly important when you're playing Highland scenario. His element is darkness, his starting level is 2. He's a 26-year-old male human. He tends to use Deep Black a lot, which was that spell which is like a black hole which sucks your units down. It's not too threatening, it just basically works to reduce the number of units you have. Okay, so I'm moving east now to take that central Highland castle. I wouldn't move to take that castle until you're ready, so to speak, because, and by that I mean you need to have fairly strong monarchs and fairly strong generals to back them up. Like I'm using Tsubaki a lot further into Bart's territory because in case you get into some trouble, you can always back them up with some of your other generals. Yeah, I would make sure you have kind of moderately, you've been leveling up your monarchs a bit, and make sure they definitely have a full complement of units of soldiers before moving to try to take that Highland castle, because although the battle to take that castle might not seem that tough, once you have that castle, you tend to get attacked from all sides. It's similar to Topaz in Dragon Force 1, which was sort of this central crux to the continent. This castle has access from all different sides, and although when Highland occupies it, it doesn't seem to get into much trouble, but as soon as you take it, suddenly you'll get attacked from all sides, so you should be ready for that. Here I'm just making sure in, what's this castle called? Arumband. I've got some decent monarchs in case Kaede sends someone from the south to attack, which is entirely possible. Okay, I'm just checking where that guy was going. He's actually going south, so that's lucky. Poor Andy, that general, is kind of stuck between those two castles. Oh well. Okay, so here we're taking on Kuzuha, who's another one of the sort of samurai units. I'm not actually sure what she's supposed to be. I'll check in a second. So as you can see, she's the lone general guarding this castle, and you might think, what's the big deal? But as I mentioned, things get a lot tougher later on. Okay, Kuzuha is a ninja. She has awesome hair. Her element is Earth, her starting level is 5. She's a 19-year-old female human from Izumo. And she only gets 3 skills. Dagger Throw, Nijingakure. I think that's like that ninja technique where you can hide yourself, it takes hits for you. And what else? Fifth Dagger, which I think is like the multiple dagger throw where you throw 5 daggers. I'm not really sure, I can't remember offhand. Okay, I kind of didn't do a very good job of finishing her off, so I'm sending Shen in to finish the job. Shen is useful because he has a very cheap, in dagger throw and triple dagger, he has cheap skills that can whittle down the enemy general. And if you boost his, I think I might have mentioned this already, but if you can boost his MP with either equips, accessories like the magic ring, or Astea's, what is it, Astea's statue, I think, raises MP by 2. If you can pump a bunch of those into him, then he's very useful in taking down generals, and as a result, he'll level up pretty quickly without too much trouble. So as you can see, Highland is already sending 2 generals my way, and Andy, that Bozak general, is stuck between what is now my castle and Izumo's castle, so she's going to rebound between the 2 of us for a while. As usual, I'm just making sure, this is perhaps a little bit OCD, you don't need to go this far into your own territory to make sure all of your units have a full complement of soldiers. and I tend to, once I've awarded medals to people that I've newly converted, I tend to like to keep them full when it comes to soldiers, which you don't necessarily have to do if you don't want to, but I like to think, why not? Okay, I totally didn't read this person's name, so now I have to find their picture. Who are you? Corday. She's a fencer. Her element is light, which is why she's using Aura Shoot there, that sort of light elemental skill. Her starting level is 1. She's a 34-year-old female elf, and she's from Moon Palace. So she's actually from Lenny's territory, which is a bit strange. Her skills are Aura Shoot, Dancing Sword, and Turn Undead, which are not the greatest skills. Dancing Sword is quite useful. Okay, what's this name? This guy's name is Gritty, which is a slightly strange name. Gritty is a mage. His starting element, or rather his element is light. His starting level is 12. He's a 64-year-old male half-doggle, so he's like Bart's. And he's from Pandaria, which is Bart's kingdom. His spells are Healing, Resurrection, and Aura Shoot. So he's similar to Barley in that he's useful for sort of stalling, because he can heal himself and resurrect his own troops. And being a mage, he has quite high MP. As you can see, he's got 10 MP here, and he's only level 12. So not quite. His MP growth isn't quite as good as Sanith's. And also I'm doing a terrible job of finishing this guy off, so I'm having to use 3 generals against him. But it's fine, it's all experience. I might have mentioned that when you get experience for anything you do with a general, even if you lose and are defeated, like your HP drops to 0, and if you retreat, you actually do get experience. So it all counts. You don't get very much, granted. It's much better to win, and best of all, to actually knock out the enemy general. You get the most experience that way, but at least it all counts for something. And with some generals like Lenny, who don't have a skill that can actually drain the enemy general's HP, you often have to make do with just having plain victories as opposed to knockouts. Okay, so it doesn't take long before Highland sends someone else after me, and I'm desperately trying to refill my units, to no avail, unfortunately. So this unit is Yuan. The good thing about having all these people come to attack you at once, or rather having lots of people come to attack you at any point, is you don't have to keep on fighting them forever, as long as they're not pivotal units to the enemy general's story. So if they're just sort of the plebs, so to speak, once you defeat them, you can capture them as prisoners of war. And even if you can't convert them to your side, as long as they're your prisoner, they won't appear on the map to fight you over and over. So you don't have to endlessly fight units, as long as you can capture them. If you let them retreat, and don't manage to capture them, they might come back at you. But generally, it's not too hard to capture them and take them off the map. Oh, I'll just quickly read you Yuan's biography, if I can find it. Yuan, she's a spirit user. A sage, I think I called them. Her element is wood. Her starting level is 7. She's a 28-year-old female, and she's a beast woman. And she's from Bozak. So that explains all of her wood elemental spells. So unfortunately, taking out all those guys doesn't mean things are over for me yet, because Andy from Bozak is still coming after us. So I'll continue this little gauntlet in the next part. Oh, bless me.